Do you sometimes wake up in the morning feeling a bit disappointed? You check your phone and you've had no new sales on Etsy overnight. Or even if there are, not as many as you had hoped. It sucks, right? Well, you're not alone. But the good news is that there's something that you can do today on Etsy to change this. And a lot of the time, this doesn't actually take very long to start working. In this video, we're going to be doing things slightly different, and we're actually going to look at one of my Etsy shops that has not been doing well this year. And together, we're going to have a look at what steps we can take to try and improve our sales, to try and get those numbers back up. People throw around all sorts of strategies, ideas, tips and tricks, and best practices on how to increase your sales on Etsy. But the problem with that is that everyone's situation and experience on Etsy are different, and what may work for one person may not work for another seller. You need to think about your target audience, the geography or the region you're trying to sell in, what products you're selling, or the niche you're trying to get into. And other important factors, such as, are your products seasonal, for example? So while it can definitely be useful to get advice and listen to tips and tricks from others, do take it with a grain of salt. But something that I've found to work really well when it comes to finding successful strategies is to actually look at the big successful brands out there and seeing what they do. What have they done to make their millions? In the past, I've worked with lots of different big companies throughout my management consulting days, and I'll have to tell you, probably the biggest underlying theme of what everyone always wants to focus on is data. I know, data. Boring, right? But what you'll find is that every big successful company out there actually bases their performance on data. And they use this data to make informed decisions about how to improve that performance down the line. For example, McDonald's actually uses data to improve their drive-through experience. In fact, their drive-through menus are digital and dynamic, and they change based on things like the time of day, weather, and demand. So next time you go through the McDonald's drive-through on a hot day, for example, pay attention to the different items that pop up first on that drive-through menu. It's probably going to be those cold drinks or that ice cream. Amazon are another really good example. Amongst lots of other data, they also use customer purchase information to start recommending other products to those customers that they might be interested in. And these are just a few examples of a couple of companies that obviously have really made it, and they've not done so by guessing. They've done it all by looking and relying on the data that they've got in front of them. And they use that data to make smart decisions and grow their businesses. And the good news is, us Etsy sellers can actually do something very similar. We can use data to our advantage as well. Imagine you're a detective and you're trying to solve the mystery of how to boost your sales. What do you need to do? We need to collect clues. So look at your shop's data to gather information. We need to examine the clues, so actually analyze that information to find different patterns or insights. And then we need to solve the mystery. So using those insights to identify different opportunities for improvement in your Etsy shop. And I know when it comes to analyzing data, it can be a little bit overwhelming because there's so many things that you could possibly look at. But don't worry, as you'll see in a second, you don't actually need to be a data analytics expert to be able to find different clues and then putting those into action throughout your Etsy shop. If you're new to data analytics, especially on Etsy, then I would always recommend to start with the basics. And by that, I mean, start having a look at those listings of yours that are already getting some tractions. Which listings are getting the most sales? And even more importantly, which of your products are making you the most profit? But how do we know which of our listings are doing the best? Which ones are getting us the most sales? And ultimately, which are making us the most profit? Again, we need to first collect our clues and then examine them. The Etsy stats or analytics in our Etsy seller dashboard is a good place to start. It'll show you key metrics like the views, favorites, and the sales for each of your listings. But I do think it has its limitations. The data is all quite high level. It can be a little bit cryptic, I find sometimes. And most importantly for me is that it won't show you your profit because it doesn't take into account the costs that you have. So let's have a look at my poorly performing Etsy shop. But I really want to understand what the bottom line of that business is at the moment, so what my profit is. So I'm actually going to be using Profittree for this instead. Profittree is an Etsy profit tracking tool that I use to track all of my incoming revenue and also my outgoing costs so that I can see what my bottom line is. How much profit am I actually making with my Etsy shop? I used to always track these things using spreadsheets, and I'm so glad those days are behind me because it just took so long to do it. Profittree will actually link straight to your Etsy account, and if you're using a print-on-demand provider, for example, such as Printful or Printify, you can also hook those up to your Profittree account so that all of your sales and all of your costs are automatically tracked in real time. If you're interested in learning more, there's a link in the description below. So I told you that my Etsy store wasn't doing very well this year, so let me show you what I mean by that. So here in Profittree, I'm going to toggle this last 7 days at the top left to year to date so that I see my insights for this year so far. And now at the top here, we can see my net sales so far this year are just shy of £10,000. Might sound good if you're new to Etsy, but if you actually look at the little red arrow with the -61 next to it, that actually indicates that my net sales are down about 60% in comparison to the same period last year. Similarly, over here on the right, my operating profit is actually down 81% in comparison to the same period last year. So that's not good, folks. We need to get to the bottom of this, and we need to have a look at different ways in which we can try and get those numbers back up this year. And as I mentioned, when it comes to data, there's a lot of different potential things that we could look at improving on, right? So if I scroll just a little bit further down, we can also see, that my profit margin is considerably lower than last year. It's 52% down at 15%, which is not good. I usually like to aim for about 25 to 30% profit margin for all of my products. So that is considerably lower. Our ROI is down, of course. And our units sold, our orders are considerably down. So there's a lot of potential things that we could dive into looking at improving, through these statistics and this data that we've provided here. But what I would like to do in today's video in particular is I want to focus on, something which is fairly high level, but can be super impactful. And that is to start off by focusing on understanding which products of ours are our best sellers and are making us the most profit. And then potentially trying to leverage that to try and improve our sales. So to do that, I'm going to go over here to the listing tab on the left-hand side. And now we essentially have a report of all of our listings in our Etsy shop, where we're given a list of all of our listings and a more granular breakdown of each one individually, which is really, really helpful. And what I'm going to do at the top here is I'm going to click on sort by best sellers. So it's now going to show me this year so far which products of mine have actually been selling the best in terms of units sold. And at first glance here, we can see there's some standout options, right? There's one that sold 18, 13, 11, a couple at 9, a couple at 8, one at 7, a couple at 6, and then obviously the number decreases from there. Okay, so I think we've got a couple up here in kind of the double digits, which I'd like to look at in a bit more detail as to, why have these potentially sold more? But first and foremost, are these products actually making me profit? It's all fine and good if, they're selling lots of sales or units. But if they're actually not making me any money, then that might be something I need to look into a bit more detail. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to have a look at this first one here, which has made me 18 sales. I'll scroll a bit to the right and we can see here, oh, okay, I've got a 31% profit margin, which is good. As I said earlier, I aim to get between a 25 to 30% profit margin on all my products. So I'm happy with that. An ROI of 45%. I like that as well. So this is a potential product that I may want to focus my attention on in the mystery solving phase, which we'll go into in a little bit more. I'm going to pay particular attention to the design and the different elements that I'm using in this design in particular. So far we've been collecting some clues and we've been examining them. Next up, we're actually going to go about taking these clues and this information and trying to solve this mystery, or having a think about how we can leverage this data or this information to our advantage. Before we do that, again, we're keeping things fairly high level, but still impactful in this video. If you are interested in learning more about different ways in which you can take advantage of data to help solve issues with your Etsy shop, then drop a comment down below. Let me know if there's any in particular that you would like me to discuss in any future videos, because there's a lot that we can discuss. For example, I could take this top selling listing, and if I click into this, I can deep dive into it in a lot more detail. I've got the general stats at the top here, but then at the bottom, we've actually got variant specific information that I can take a look at. So I can rank each variant by bestsellers, and I can actually see that the white version of this shirt actually sells the most by far. It's actually the most popular. So that's interesting. That might be something that we want to consider afterwards when we're going about solving this mystery as well. So keep that in your mind. The white one is the most popular. Okay, so we've found a couple of insights, but what do we do with them now? Well, let's take a look at an example of what Disney did. When they saw how popular the movie Frozen was, they expanded it into more movies, toys, musicals, bedding, and lots more. So what they did was they took something that was obviously already successful and they doubled down on it. And you could do something similar with your Etsy shop. If you find that certain products are doing well, as we've just seen in my shop, then don't just sit on it, have a look at expanding it. And there's two possible ways that we could quite easily do this. One way is something called a product line extension. And the idea here is that you're taking your best-selling designs and you're expanding them onto other product types. So for example, if your best-selling design is this floral pattern on a t-shirt, why not have a look at maybe offering it on other products as well, such as, mugs, phone cases, and tote bags, for example. Doing this is smart because you can already see that this design is popular, so you're essentially leveraging that popularity and expanding into other products. So someone that may be interested in that floral t-shirt may then also see that floral tote bag and think, ooh, I would like to have that as well. 2 sales instead of 1. Another strategy is category extension. And the idea here is that you're looking at those best-selling designs and you're creating more designs within that same category or niche. So going back to our floral t-shirt example, you could think of other floral themed or nature themed designs that you could put on t-shirts as well, extending across the niche or category. And a little bonus tip for you is to take things just a little step further, and this can make a real difference. And that is to actually use product variant specific information to your advantage. For example, earlier on in Profit Tree, we saw that listing we looked at, our bestseller, actually sold the most in white. So if the white shirt is the most popular for this specific design, then let's take advantage of that. Why not make your listing thumbnail specifically that color variant? This way, when buyers see your listing for the first time, they'll automatically first see your most popular variant. And doing this could ultimately increase your click-through rate and hopefully improve your sales. Remember, the goal here is to have a look what's already working and build on it. You already have the data in front of you. It's just up to you to really take advantage of it to find new avenues to grow. Again, if you'd like to see more videos where I dive into the data analytics side of things and show you how you can easily find new ways to grow your Etsy shop using data, then drop me a comment down below and let me know specifically what you would like me to dive into. But in addition to the data side of things, there are other best practices that I picked up during my management consulting days when it comes to different ways to increase your sales. To learn more about those, go and have a look at this video next. I'll see you there.